Honestly, Juice. I know.
Good evening, everyone. We are here for the fourth listening session for the Bennington Select Board. Sorry, I have a cough drop. I hope this is a session where we are listening to you. If you have specific questions, if they're straightforward and we can answer them, or the town manager can answer them, we will certainly try and do that. But this is really a forum for you to share your ideas with us. I guess we'll start with introductions. My name is Jeannie Jenkins, and I have the pleasure of chairing this board.
Hi, I'm Nancy White.
Good evening, Clark Adams.
Jean Connor.
All right, and Sarah Perrin will be back with us momentarily, and we have some ill select board members this evening, so both Tom Haley and Ed are not here this evening. So with that, I think we'll open it up for questions or comments. Anyone? Sure, go ahead. And just a reminder, the mics are on for the people at home, but you have to project because the mics are not working in the room.
Thank you. And I've got permission from others in the room that I can speak and leave, as I have a birthday party happening at home.
Okay,
imminently.
Introduce yourself first.
Thank you. Jason Frederickson, Bennington, Vermont. Good evening, members of the Select Board and the Bennington community. At the last meeting, I introduced the idea of the Bennington Artisan Market, BAM, and I've been overwhelmed by the positive response from both the press and the community. It's clear that Jay's Art Shop and Frame Gallery holds a special place in Bennington's heart. It's not just a store, it's a cornerstone of our creative community. Built over 52 years, providing high-quality art supplies, expert custom framing, and a space where artists, students, and professionals alike have found inspiration and support. BAM is about reinventing and enhancing that legacy, not just preserving it. While Jay and his family have made the difficult but well-earned decision to retire, our goal is to ensure that downtown Bennington doesn't lose such an important resource. This is an exciting journey, an evolving vision shaped by ongoing conversations with the community, local artists, and business leaders. Every day, new ideas and opportunities emerge that help define the best path forward. Funding and sustainability. To clarify some of the recent public discussion, BAM will be purchasing the business contents, the inventory, fixtures, and equipment, but we are leasing the space, not purchasing the building. We are about to launch a community-driven fundraising campaign to secure the initial purchase and startup costs. This approach ensures that BAM is built on the power and passion of the people who value what Jay's has provided for decades. The business model itself is designed to be financially sustainable, operating on sales, membership support, and creative programming. While some have asked about grant funding, our approach is to use it strategically for growth and community initiatives. Grants are often designed to support educational programs, artist workshops, and business development, rather than day-to-day operations. That's exactly how BAM plans to utilize them, to expand opportunities for artists and deepen community engagement. We're also exploring partnerships with local institutions to expand these opportunities. More details will be coming soon, and I appreciate the conversations that's happening around this. What will BAM offer? Retail space featuring high-quality art supplies, local and regional artisan products, and Bennington and Vermont-focused souvenirs. A custom framing department that maintains the expertise and service Jay's customers have come to rely on. A community hub offering artist workshops, rotating exhibits, and business education for creatives looking to make a living from their work. This is an opportunity to preserve an essential part of downtown while transforming it into something new. An expanded hub for creativity, entrepreneurship, and community engagement. I look forward to sharing more details as they develop and continuing to work with town leadership, local businesses, and the public to make this vision a reality. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jason.
Thank you.
It's very exciting to hear.
Thank you. Have a good night, all.
Yes, Kelly, please.
Hi, Kelly Carroll, Bennington. I just wanted to bring up just a little disconnect with the ballots and the charter review meeting that was at the Select Board. With the last packet, the attachment number 3A came out with a notice of 2 public hearings to consider amendments to the Town of Bennington Charter. They have amendments 1 through 6 listed, but on the ballot, amendments 1 through 6 are actually amendments 2 through 7, or questions 2 through 7. So just to be aware of that when you come in and vote, make sure that you read what you're voting, because there is that numerical disconnect. So, thanks.
Thank you, Kelly. I think that's really important for everyone to note. And sorry for that confusion. We were focusing on the charter review questions, and unfortunately there's 6 of them. So I'm glad. Thank you for noticing that and bringing that up. Who else? Someone else had their hand up. I know it. Don't be shy. All right, we'll give it the 5 minutes. Anyone have thoughts about the roads, about charter amendments, questions on the budget?
Thank you all for coming out tonight.
We still have 3 minutes. Yay, good for you.
Shirley Adams, Bennington. Actually, you mentioned roads, Jeannie, and I noticed, and I see Stu here, so maybe he can help us, that after the last snowstorm, it didn't appear that we put salt down. Did we run out of salt? It looks like there was some sort of gravel mix put down on the roads, so I'm just curious.
Oh, Stuart, that one is yours.
Yes, unfortunately, I can answer. We, in fact, did run out of salt temporarily. On Friday, we sent trucks, including contractor vehicles, to the Port of Albany to actually truck salt from the Port of Albany to Bennington so that we would have salt. We also purchased salt through the state's contract. Their salt contains gravel, which gives it a little bit more grit on icy roads. So that's what you're seeing. That mix is being put down. We're praying for warmer temperatures next week and a lack of snow because this winter has been really, really like the winters of old, not like the winters of the last 3 years. So we're doing our best. The guys are working way too many hours just to keep the streets from icing over. And unfortunately, the temperatures don't get above 20 degrees. It's a very, very difficult time for us, but I congratulate our folks for doing what they're doing and for taking some brains to figure out how to get more salt.
It's impressive. Port of Albany.
Shirley Adams, Bennington again. Actually, I want to give the road crews kudos because I was downtown earlier this week, or maybe it was last week, and I saw the crews with loaders there carrying snow away. So that was certainly necessary and appreciated because it made parking a lot easier along some of the streets. So thanks for that.
That's great. And the sidewalks are as passable as they can be. And as I did tell someone, I was in a town in a neighboring state recently where they do not take care of their sidewalks at all. The business owners take care of their sidewalks, and where there were empty storefronts or parks, it was impassable. So, thank you. All right, are we starting another 5 minutes? Yes. I think tonight, you can go whenever you want to go.
I just want to remind everybody that next Wednesday on the 26th, CPARB is having a public safety forum. We did have to have a change of venue unexpectedly. We had originally hoped to have it at the high school, but unfortunately, we're moving it to right here in the third floor at the firehouse. So next week, we have State's Attorney Erica Marthage. We have Lieutenant Stephen Coote from the Vermont Shasberry State Police Barracks. We have Bennington Police Chief Paul Doucette, sorry. We have, I'm nervous, we have Stu Hurd from the town manager, and we have Dr. Alia Reeve from UCS. She's a psychiatrist. So we'll be talking about some of the strategies and preventions that we can do for violent crime, vigilantism, some of the crime rates in Bennington, which are, we'll discuss more, but they are going down, violent crime. So please join us on the 26th from 6 to 8 p.m. Cat TV, thank you very much. They will be covering it live. So thank you, and thank you for putting up with my nervousness.
Thank you for reminding us about that. That's good. Another 5 minutes. Oh, Deb, go ahead.
Deb Matt Bennington. I'm a bit confused on the, what do you call it, the meth clinic. Is that still in the works? Has that been put on hold, or where does that stand?
Well, Kelly may actually have the most information on it, but it is moving forward. There is, everything's been signed and agreed to. I think there was some confusion with the question that was asked at the candidate forum. It made it sound like it was an open question. So there is a place near in that same little strip mall that Anytime Fitness is in. They are doing work on it. It is the case that Kelly has contacted the state regularly to check on updates and has provided those to Project Alliance. And so all things are moving forward on that. It just is slow as molasses. Stuart has some information to share.
Well, I wasn't sure I heard correctly, but I believe Deb referred to it as a meth clinic. Mm-hmm. It's methadone.
Yeah.
Meth has a different
Good point.
connotation.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I knew what you meant, but that's true. Let's not start rumors we don't want to have.
Abbreviations and stuff, I don't know where we had the language anymore.
Yeah, okay. Thank you for asking that. I have started the next 5 minutes. We hope you will all come Monday because we are going to have an exciting audit presentation. And this is, I mean, it is important. It's sometimes a little dry, but it is making sure that the town is being responsible with its money. And so it is great for people to come to that presentation. There are no questions in this town?
Why not?
Oh, Martha, yes.
Martha Mackey, Bennington, Vermont. So I've been meaning to ask you this, Jeannie, but since
Oh,
I'm
no.
here, I may as well.
You're approaching the board.
Oh, I'm
Okay.
sorry, the board. Well, so the Riverwalk, the stretch along Walgreens, it really ruins the effect. And I feel like all we need there is like a fence, a nice wooden fence or a hedge or something, so that you can walk through there and feel like you're still in a park and not in a parking lot. So anyways, that's why I said Jeannie, because I know you're involved with but for the whole board, would love to see something happen there. That's all.
I mean, I think we can tell you a little of what has been, the Better Bennington Corporation has reached out to artists. Unfortunately, painting the wall that's the side of the building is not a possibility. That would be kind of nice to put a mural on it. on the other side, Stuart, I assume the town maintains that, is that fence the town's fence, or is that someone else, is that the Walgreen Shopping Center's fence?
I believe the fence belongs to the people who own the property, whoever that is. The idea of trying to separate that particular walkway from the parking lot might be able to be addressed, but we'd have to take a hard look at it and see whether or not we start to create problems for ourselves in maintenance of the sidewalk itself.
Mm-hmm. Well, it might be a fundraising opportunity. Although, I mean, so if the fence does belong to Walgreens, I don't know, or that corporation, whoever the corporation is that owns the shopping plaza, it might be, that probably would be a first step to see if they're even
I think,
able.
do you mean
It's-
creating a barrier between the park, not the fence that's along the river? You meant a fence up against the parking lot, and that was just repaved.
So you feel like you're in like a little corridor.
Right.
You can even paint murals on the fence.
Yeah, she's not talking about a fence. to
Not
replace
changing the
existing
chain link.
fence, it's adding a fence
Yeah.
Oh.
along
which-
the north side.
Yeah,
of
which
the-
does have sidewalk
When that was
implications.
just repaved.
Then it's hard for a sidewalk plow to go in and plow it.
Like, there's a small amount, there's like a path, small amount of grass. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
I thought it goes all the way to the curb.
No, the path doesn't go all the way to the.
Oh, then never mind. I thought it went all the way to the curb.
No, I mean, it is a narrow, it's a small space to work with. But
I think it is where the drive-through between,
Okay,
that part goes all the
Okay.
way to the sidewalk, but,
beyond that,
yeah.
okay,
Then we have cherry trees.
right, right.
I still think it's something to consider.
Well, it's been considered for several years. Since the Riverwalk started, it was one of the first areas.
Specific idea.
Yeah, but that
section
section,
to do
yeah.
something with that.
Yeah, so there've been a lot of ideas thrown out there. Some of them have not gone anywhere because we need property owners' permission. But so I think it's more, have at it, think about what you want to do. And I think the design committee for the BBC has taken the lead on this. So Mike McDonough could tell you everything that's been proposed and what happened to those thoughts. So, yeah, that'd be lovely. Another 5 minutes. Yes, Deb?
Debbie Matt Bennington. I was wondering what the percentage of increase was on the budget this year. I thought at the board meeting you said 4.54, but I've heard that it's 6 something.
Stuart, I'll let you address that one, too.
Yes, the budget actually increased 5.65%. That is the expenditure side of the budget. The budget we presented was 4.5, but added to that, when we do our comparison, we're comparing the agencies as funded last year. So once the select board looks at the agencies, such as the John McCullough Library and the Rescue Squad, and they add funds to the agency there, and we add the agencies in that are on the ballot, and some various changes the board makes with regard to my salary and benefits for the treasurer, and salary and benefits for the town clerk, it ends up at 5.65%. And I know Nancy raised this question at the last board meeting, and I wasn't in attendance. What that impacts is the amount to be raised by taxes. So you have the budget, which is the expenditure side. Part of that has to be raised by taxes. That is up 6.1%, because we're looking at revenues that are being slightly reduced from last year, principally due to interest rate changes. where we were very, very fortunate, and our investments did really well. Last year, we're probably going to see less than that because we invest our funds in money markets and those kinds of financial investments. So that's 6.1% on the amount to be raised by taxes. That impacts then the amount that raises the tax rate, which is 6.23%. Because when you look at the tax rate based on the amount to be raised by taxes, you have to look at, and we're comparing it to last year's grand list. So you get a number that is slightly higher because we're not taking into account any growth in the grand list. We're not taking into account any speculated grants or other revenue that we might see, which is why we don't set the tax rate until April, May, and June, because by then we know whether or not we're going to be getting some additional highway grants for paving or bridges. We're going to be getting additional revenue from some of our sources. Some of our investments might be doing better at that time than we think they're doing now. So that's a speculation. But those are the three different rates that you see. And I know Nancy raised the question at the last meeting. 5.65% increase in the expenditures. That results in a 6.17% increase in the amount to be raised by taxes. We generate about $3 million in other revenues. So it brings the amount to be raised by taxes down, but not sufficiently enough to match last year's. And then the tax rate is based on last year's grand list. And we know there will be some growth in the grand list. So that's 6.23%. We tell you what it is for purposes of looking at the budget and understanding. But you also have to understand that it will most likely be lower than that based on growth in the grand list and other revenue sources that we might find in the interim. Does that answer your question, Deb?
Yeah, it's complicated, but I do appreciate that you give us sort of the worst-case scenario, and and then we hope that the grand list grows.
And we have generally not come in where we anticipate the tax rate to be, simply because of growth in revenues.
Stu, can you give us a sense, if there's a reduction, how much of a reduction is usual?
Well, approximately every $100,000 growth in the grand list will reduce the projected tax rate by a penny. So it's in that range. If we're seeing growth in the grand list, then it'll bring that tax rate down. We should see some growth in the grand list. It may not be substantial. I mean, our grand list is fairly large now, and so a 1% growth is much more now than it was 10 years ago. I don't have those numbers at the top of my head, I'm afraid, but yes, it will come in at less than 6.23%. I can practically guarantee that, but I'm not going to try to guess at what it might be.
Okay.
Stu, for buildings that were always privately owned for 100-plus years and nonprofits have purchased the buildings, are they still on the grand list or are they automatically taken off?
They are on the grand list until such time as they apply for tax-exempt status under the statutes, which is called the Fly Fishing Museum, the Orvis Fly Fishing Museum case.
Do they stay on for the same amount they're on right now?
They will stay on the grand list at what they're at. There's no reason to alter the grand list unless they make substantial changes to the building. But even then, if they can prove that they meet the three criteria to be removed from the tax rate, it means, my perspective, the entire building has to be used for the tax-exempt purpose, not a portion of it. So if they're only using a portion of it for the tax-exempt purpose, then the rest of it is taxable. But that's a decision the listers usually face when we see the kind of purchases we're seeing.
So does that mean if a building has 3 floors and they're only using the main floor for a nonprofit purpose, then they pay 2/3
That
of the
would be
tax?
correct, yes.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
thought
I've
so.
heard different things from people. Where they're building the condos on Convent Avenue, I think that's for the college, will that all be taxed or will that not be taxed?
That is taxed,
That will be taxed?
yes.
Okay.
It's resident housing, but it's not on campus. There was a decision a long time ago having to deal with some of the properties that Bennington College provided for their professors to live in. And there was an issue about tax exemption. And that issue has been resolved in favor of taxing those properties as opposed to being exempt.
Okay.
Come on, Deb, that was a good one.
I have a question in terms of weather-related. I don't know if our turnout is related to our cold snap here, but I know we've made efforts to make the regular select board meetings available via the OWL system or Zoom or whatever. That's something we may want to consider doing for these sessions, or would that be a bit much? But I think with our cold snap, maybe there's a few people sitting at home all in front of their fireplace wishing they could say something that didn't involve going out in the cold.
Yeah. Stuart, is the town, our town staff looking at costs of putting in a system? I mean, the OWL, which is used for many conference room kinds of meetings, is often insufficient even in those cases. I was thinking that there was going to be an effort to look at what a system would cost, and then maybe that comes back at the next budget meeting.
I think we have taken preliminary looks at it via our IT director and communications coordinator. They're the two IT specialists that we have. I know we've taken a look at it. I think it's relatively pricey, but I don't have those numbers on the top of my head. But we certainly will take a look at it for the next budget season. Not this particular budget that we've built, but beyond that. Because we really can't handle Zoom meetings very well here.
No, we cannot. Yeah. So those of you who'll be on the board, put it in your tickler file. Yeah, go ahead.
Martha Mackey, Bennington, Vermont. I just want to say on that topic, I think it is, while it might seem like a hassle and maybe an expense, which it is, I think it's actually really crucial, and as an accessibility issue. I know multiple people in this town who get around by way of motorized wheelchair. They don't drive, and they can't get here when the weather's like this, let alone the cold. They literally can't drive down the street. So I think that's a huge issue. You have elderly people. There's a lot of people in our community who might like to be involved in these conversations. And I know it just hasn't been an option until recently, but we're getting to the point where we have the technology for this, and it's an opportunity to have a lot more of our electorate involved. And the more people we have involved, the better our systems will be. So that's just my plug for that.
Well, this state law went into effect July 1st, right?
Mm-hmm.
To have access for people calling in, so I think we should have had the access by now.
Well, we do have access, and there is a process. So someone just needs to call and ask to access it.
But to say it's tough for people to call in.
It is.
Well, we should have had a system then. I mean, we should have had it.
Well, we are always trying to make sure the budget is whatever we can do. I mean, during the budget session, any one of us could have said, we want to add this as a line item. And we didn't, because this year is we say every year is tough, but this year was tougher than usual because of the increases in healthcare. Yeah, we already had union agreements that we had to honor. This was a very, very tough year. So, I mean, that is what this board does. We can always say, this is something we won the budget, and in fact, we just said that to Stu for next year. So, we're moving as we're moving as well as we can within the constraints that we have. And I think, Martha, no one disagrees with you. I think during COVID, our meetings were over Zoom, and they were frustrating. It was definitely frustrating, but they were fully online meetings. Hybrid meetings are a different kind of frustrating animal. So having good technology, I think, is pretty essential to making sure that those meetings run well.
And I would just like to add, let's just be clear, we are in compliance with the law.
Yes.
So, it might not be great, and we can do better, but we are in compliance with the law.
Thank you.
And on that point, I sit on another board, and they're addressing the same issue, that yes, we're complying with the law poorly, but we are in compliance. And as we all know, we can always do everything better. That's all we can do is aspire to do better. Jeannie's 100% right. As probably in everybody else's checkbook, things are a little tight, and we have to prioritize things. So yes, we could do better, but the goal is that we will try to do better in the coming budget year. But you're right. I agree with you, Martha, that, yeah, it's real important that a lot of our people in this town get greater access and have greater participation in the process. We can't say enough when it comes to getting people involved and informed in what we're doing here.
And I guess that's a good segue to remind people that you can go online and submit a question. And when you submit a question, that goes out to all of us. And, we can either reach out to that person or address it as just an issue that's come up. Our next 5 minutes has begun. These are great questions. It's nice that you guys are being thoughtful. We're coming up on the 5 minutes.
While we're waiting, well, I guess our mics are on. So while we're in these 5 minutes, just to remind people, all our emails are on their website, so feel free to reach out in that as well.
And I will say we've gotten at least one community member who has started the process on traffic calming of sharing information about a street location or road location that they would like to have addressed. So it feels like a win. Deb.
Again. Debbie Matt. I was wondering how the Putnam block is. It doesn't look like the bottom is full. I was wondering if all the apartments are full or it's just the bottom is not full?
So we don't, so Putnam is privately owned. I did ask this question on behalf of someone else, and the answer I received last month is that the apartments are 100% rented and have been, and they have waiting lists, so, if someone moves out, there's someone to move in. The downstairs, I was told, was 66, I believe it was 66% 62, 66% occupied at this point. And, I mean, we can see where the empty spaces are. So, and I think the last update that I had, I don't know, Stuart, if you have anything else, was Bill Colvin telling us that they were looking at doing some work on the interior of the empty storefronts to sort of for fit up, so that the upfront costs for anyone that leased the space would not be so high. So, yeah, so it's been a very popular, the apartments have been extremely popular, and it is a range of affordable to market rate housing, and some accessible, wheelchair accessible apartments as well.
Do we have an end time?
We
that's
have
about
2
now,
minutes.
I guess.
We have 2 minutes
Oh, my
before
God.
we've got another 5 minutes.
Can we just move to adjourn, please?
Yeah.
Is there anything else? Well, is there anyone else? Any head nods? All right. Motion has been made maybe by Sarah and seconded by Jean?
Absolutely.
Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye? All right, thank you so much for coming out on a snowy and icy evening.